You make $100,000 a year, maybe more, and somehow, at the end of every month, you look at your bank account and wonder where it all went. You're not imagining it. You're not bad with money, and you are definitely not alone. According to a 2023 survey by Lending Club, nearly 60% of Americans earning over $100,000 a year live paycheck to paycheck. Let that land for a second. 6 figures. Paycheck to paycheck. The number that was supposed to change everything. And for millions of people, it changed almost nothing. So what is actually happening? The answer is not what most people think. It is not that you spend too much on coffee. It is not that you need to cut Netflix. The real reason your 6-figure salary feels like it is never enough has a name. Economists call it lifestyle inflation, but that word does not fully capture what it actually does to you. So let's be more precise about it. Every time your income goes up, your spending goes up to match it. Not because you are reckless, because it feels natural, because you worked for it, because you deserve it. A better apartment, a newer car, better restaurants, better vacations, better everything. And each upgrade, by itself, feels completely reasonable. The problem is that they all arrive at the same time, and they all stay. Fixed costs that expand to fill whatever you earn. This is what Thomas Stanley documented in The Millionaire Next Door, his landmark study of American wealth published in 1996. Stanley found something that stunned researchers. The people most likely to actually build wealth were not the highest earners. They were the people who consistently spent significantly less than they earned, regardless of income level. The doctor driving a luxury car and living in an expensive neighborhood, Stanley found, was often worth far less than the plumber in the modest house 2 streets over. Income was almost irrelevant. The gap between what came in and what went out, that was everything. So let's talk about your specific situation. Because the $100,000 trap has a very particular structure. You're probably paying federal income tax at 22% or higher. Add state income tax, depending on where you live. Social Security and Medicare take another 7.65%. Before you spend a single dollar, somewhere between 30% and 40% of your gross income is already gone. So your $100,000 salary is closer to $60,000 to $65,000 in take-home pay. That is your real starting point. Now, let's reconstruct a typical month. Mortgage or rent in a major American city, $2,000 to $3,000. Car payment or two, $600 to $1,200. Childcare if you have kids, $1,500 to $3,000 per month, which shocks most people who haven't experienced it. Student loan payments, $400 to $800. Groceries, utilities, phone, internet, subscriptions, another $800 to $1,200. Health insurance premiums and out-of-pocket costs, $400 to $800. Add it up, and you're looking at $5,700 to $10,000 in fixed monthly costs before you have bought a single discretionary item. Before dinner out, before a flight, before a birthday gift, before anything that feels like living. This is the math that nobody shows you when you are working toward that 6-figure number. The costs that grow automatically to meet your income level are not luxuries. They're the standard that comes with the life you are supposed to have at $100,000 a year. Here is where it gets more interesting and more uncomfortable. Research by economist Sindel Mullathun, published in his 2013 book Scarcity with co-author Eldar Shaffer, found that the feeling of financial scarcity, regardless of your actual income, creates a specific kind of cognitive tunnel vision. When you feel like money is tight, your brain narrows its focus onto the immediate problem. This month's bills, this week's cash flow. Long-term thinking shrinks. Creativity shrinks. Your mental bandwidth for planning, investing, and building shrinks. And here is the devastating irony. The more financially stressed you feel, the worse your financial decisions tend to become. Not because you are less intelligent, because the stress is consuming the cognitive resources you would need to make better ones. This means the $100,000 trap is not just a spending problem. It is a psychological one, and breaking out of it requires more than a budget. It requires restructuring the relationship between your income and your costs at a fundamental level. So what actually works? The first thing to understand is that you cannot save your way out of this. Cutting $50 a month from discretionary spending will not change your trajectory. The gap you need to create between income and expenses is structural, not incremental. James Clear, in Atomic Habits published in 2018, described the difference between outcome-based change and identity-based change. Outcome-based: I will spend less this month. Identity-based: I am someone who builds assets before I pay for lifestyle. The second one is the only one that compounds. The second thing to understand is the concept of the wealth ratio, which Thomas Stanley introduced as a simple diagnostic tool. Take your age, multiply it by your annual income, divide by 10. That is roughly what your net worth should be if you're on track to build real wealth. If you're 35 years old earning $100,000, your wealth ratio target is $350,000. If you're significantly below that number, the gap between your income and your wealth building is larger than your paycheck suggests. The third thing, and this is the one that actually changes the month-to-month experience, is what financial planners call the automatic wealth transfer. Before your paycheck hits your checking account, a fixed percentage moves automatically to an account you do not see and cannot easily access. Not 5%, not when you feel like it. A fixed, automatic, non-negotiable percentage. David Bach, in The Automatic Millionaire published in 2004, called this the single most powerful financial habit available to an ordinary American worker. Not because the amount is large, but because it removes the decision entirely. You cannot spend what you never see. Here is the counterintuitive twist that most financial advice misses completely. Your income is not the problem. Your income is actually the solution, but only if you stop trying to solve the problem with the same tool that created it. More income spent on more lifestyle is just a bigger version of the same trap. The people who escape the six-figure paycheck-to-paycheck cycle do not do it by earning more. They do it by creating a hard ceiling on lifestyle costs while letting their income grow above that ceiling. Every dollar above that ceiling goes to building assets, investments, businesses, anything that produces income without requiring your direct time. Warren Buffett famously lived in the same Omaha house he bought in 1958 for $31,500 while building one of the largest fortunes in human history. The ceiling was a choice. The compounding above, it was the result. Here is what your next week can actually look like. Step 1. Calculate your real take-home pay. Not gross. Net. After every deduction. That is your actual operating budget. Step 2. List every fixed monthly cost you have. Everything that hits automatically whether you think about it or not. Add them up. That number is your baseline burn rate. Step 3. Subtract your baseline burn rate from your monthly take-home. Whatever is left is your margin. That margin is the only thing standing between you and building real wealth. If the margin is small, the problem is structural, not behavioral. You need to reduce a fixed cost, not skip a latte. Step 4. Automate a transfer. Even $200 a month. On the day your paycheck arrives. To an index fund, a high-yield savings account, a Roth IRA, somewhere it can begin to work. The amount matters less than the automation. The automation makes it permanent. And permanent is the only thing that compounds. You make $100,000 a year. The problem was never the number. The problem was that the number kept arriving in a container that was already full. Every raise poured into a lifestyle that had quietly expanded to meet it. Every bonus absorbed by a fixed cost that had been waiting. The answer is not to earn less. It is not to live like a monk. It is to build a structure where some of what you earn escapes the container entirely, before the container has a chance to grow around it. You make $100,000 a year, and starting this week, some of it is finally going somewhere it has never been allowed to go before.